Yeah, at first, please tell us something about your musical education.
I went to a conservatory, Istanbul State Conservatory in Turkey. I was actually a violin major at first, but I absolutely hated playing it, and but I love writing for it now, ironically. But yeah, as a kid, that wasn't my thing, and I actually switched over to classical guitar, and I got my degree in classical guitar. After that, all throughout, I was playing the piano, and my background is very, very classical. And but I was also really fascinated with jazz, and I was learning more and more about that. And when I was 17, I moved to Chicago. My brother used to live there, and I studied with some jazz and blues teachers there. And then at the end of that year, I went to Berklee College of Music, majoring in film scoring and piano. And thanks to the European education system, I actually finished Berklee in 2 years. I tested out of a lot of the classes. So I was 19 years old. I finished Berklee and then moved to Los Angeles. I got my master's degree in classical composition. And that's the formal education. But the real education was after that.
Mm-hmm. Great. So, yeah, classical guitar, piano, violin are your favorite instruments, or do you have others?
Ironically, my favorite instrument is none of those. It's cello. And I do regret not playing it younger when I was younger, but I have a cello now. I'm taking lessons when I can and I'm fiddling around with it. I can find my way around most string instruments, so it's fun. I practice and try to get better at cello. That's probably my favorite instrument, but I love classical guitar. I've spent so many years with it, and it's very close to my heart. I love it.
Who are your personal or musical idols, if you have them?
Oh, that changes depending on the day you ask me,
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, a lot of the film scoring giants that I love very much. I love Ennio Morricone. I love John Barry. I love, from the current ones, let's see, I'm a big fan of John Powell, James Eaton Howard. These are all the film scoring folks. But idols, I don't know. It really, I did my master's degree, my master's thesis on John Corigliano, um, who is more of a concert classical composer, but he did do a few films, and one of which was the Red Violin, one of my favorite scores of all time. I just love how his brain works and how he masters tension and release in a beautiful way. And so it all changes, and I listen to jazz a lot. I'm influenced by a lot of different styles and a lot of different things. Yeah, it's all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And yeah, what was your very first assignment as a film music composer?
The first one, let's see, some short films, I guess. The first one that I probably, I'm trying to think. I think I did do on like little independent thing back then. The first one I really care about is a short film called When All Else Fails. That was so many years ago by now one of the most amazing producers that we have, David Ellison, whom I was very lucky to work with on other things after. And that was his first short film when he was finishing USC. And that was like maybe 14 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
As a composer, that was probably one of my first that I was proud of. And then the first, I think the main big thing was a video game, not a film.
Mm-hmm.
And that was year, trying to think, 2004. It was a game it was when Xbox 360 was coming out, and Microsoft had this big push, and this game was a big deal for them. It's called 99 Nights. Mm-hmm. And that was literally the first like proper credit that I would say that I had. And then that video game actually led to my first feature film that was, a little bigger than the other ones that I had done, called Behind Enemy Lines 2. Mm-hmm. And that was, 2005. Yeah.
And so in general...
I feel old now.
Oh, wow. These few years. And yeah, so in general, what is inspiring you?
Life. I think my children, life, and everything else, pretty much everything other than music.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think you need to live life. You know, you need to have an input in order to output.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think that's one of the main mistakes I see. So I don't know. I don't want to call that mistake, but it's just, I guess, different choice. But the way that I like to operate in my life right now is just really doing the things that inspire me to live and to be happier, to be better in every way. And I go out sailing. A lot of people that follow me on social media know this by now. I think I post a lot more sailing pictures than anything else. But when I go out to sail, I don't, obviously, once we go out and we turn the engine off, I don't turn music on unless my friends want it. But a lot of times they know this about me too. I actually don't really like music on the boat. I just go listen to the ocean and the seagulls and, the splash of the water. And then just that actually inspires me to get back into the studio and write, if that makes any sense. Because
Mm-hmm.
I need to clear my head and not hear anything so that when I come, I don't know, just things are clear. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Yeah, it's just everything inspires me. I mean, beautiful films, beautiful stories, anything with a heart. I think my main thing every time I get a project, one of the first things that I ask myself and the director is, what's the heart? Where's the heart? Because that's, some projects are for different purposes, but for a lot of the things, once you find the heart, that's it. You can then really draw in the audience and take them on a journey, but it's all about the heart and love and passion and all those mushy things that I love.
Mm-hmm. What do you think is the best thing about composing music?
Oh my gosh, that's a good question. What's the best thing about it? I think I love words. Words are great,
Mm-hmm.
but there is something about being able to explain yourself through different frequencies,
Mm-hmm.
just through different. I think that's it. That's the best way. For me, it's my best form of communication. That's what I love about it. I love getting my ideas, my feelings. Obviously, if I'm writing for a film, then being able to draw out the emotion from that, convey that, and telling a story really is what is the best thing about it. I think stories are really important. Not many people tell good stories anymore. So being able to tell a story, being able to take people through different states of emotions. I think especially now with technology and everything else, people live on the surface too much. And being able to go just deeper and touch people's hearts, I think that's my favorite thing. Sort of like, I also love to cook.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite part of cooking, I mean, I love the actual cooking as well, but my favorite part is looking at someone's face when they first try the first bite.
Mm-hmm.
That satisfaction. And it's the same thing with music. The part I love the most, as much as I love the actual process of writing, my favorite part is just looking at people's faces when they hear the music. That's my favorite part.
Mm-hmm. And is there something that makes it less fun for you?
Sure. I mean, just like with everything, sometimes we do projects that don't really touch our hearts in any
Mm-hmm.
way, and it becomes more of a job. It's
Mm-hmm.
not ideal. In an ideal world, you have the combination of everything: great project, great people, and hopefully great pay as well. So, but sometimes those things don't all align, and something's got to give. I think, yeah, I mean, I'm not too fazed by the technical aspects of things when pictures change, or I know I've been through a lot of situations where we've had a lot of picture changes. Now we're in the digital age, there's no locked picture, so those things don't really faze me actually. I think what really bothers me the most sometimes is working on projects that I know aren't really great,
Mm-hmm.
but we're trying to make it better,
Mm-hmm.
and but that's the challenge too. That's not really a negative thing. Sometimes I like that challenge as well. But sometimes having to take on projects that I, in an ideal world, might not want to take on. That's probably the least fun of it. But again, even then, even on those projects, I look at myself and I usually even tell my fans, look, I wake up, I'm in my pajamas or yoga pants all day long, and people pay me to write music. So
Mm-hmm.
it's there's no bad day in what I do. It's good. It's all good.
When you compose, what are the steps from the first notes to the complete score?
Anxiety. I'm just kidding. First note is probably the hardest. I always say like the distance from 0 to 1 is way bigger than 1 to 2 or any other number. So I think just trying to get a sense of what it is that I'm trying to say with the music. That's the toughest thing, coming up with themes and the sound palette, the color palette, I think once that happens and then we establish we're on the right track, the director, then it's actually it's just the rest is just getting it done. Depending on the project, if we have an orchestra, I write the music and hopefully it gets approved. It gets sent to the orchestrator, then gets sent for music prep. We record, mix and deliver. And all of that sometimes, I did a project in June. We recorded in June. We started in May. But the entire thing happened in a matter of like 3 weeks or something. From the first note to delivery, which can happen. And sometimes it's much longer. I'm working on a video game right now that started several months ago, and we record in October. We have a lot more time for it, so it's all different. But the general steps are kind of the same.
And yeah, do you like or enjoy writing whole themes for characters or settings, or do you try more to describe the mood of a movie?
Well, it depends. Sometimes the mood is what you need to capture and convey, and sometimes it's the character. It's not really. It really depends. But I try to think of the whole film as one piece of music with, different movements, so to speak. A lot of different movements. So if you think of the entire arc of the story, again, it's just part of the storytelling thing, how things develop and where are you going ultimately. And whatever a particular scene needs more of, then that's what gets done.
And yeah, what do you think? Is composing an art or a craft?
It's both. It is, obviously, I think. I'm pretty sure it is both. Because, I think the art and the heart, they come first. Because I used to say this to my students too. I think music should generate the first thing needs to be in your heart, and then it travels to your ears, and then from your ears it goes to your brain, which is where the craft part is. This is all the information. That's where the translation happens, and then it comes out either through paper, pen, computer. But you need to feel it, then hear it, and then you need to be able to translate that. And the more vocabulary you have in music, the more things you can translate properly, or more accurately. Instead of just broad strokes, you can be more detailed and more elegant, more articulate with what you're trying to convey. So it's a combination of all.
And yeah, and now tell me everything about your fantastic work for Wind Gods.
Oh, thank you. What do you want to know about it?
How was the work with the orchestra? What was the approach? Yeah, all of it.
So this was actually before I started sailing. It's a sailing movie, a documentary about the 33rd America's Cup. And it was one of those other quick turnaround ones, somewhat. And we were really fortunate to have a pretty big orchestra. We had a 60-piece orchestra at Warner Brothers for 2 days, which was phenomenal. It's interesting, some of those cues in that film came up pretty fast. Like, I even remember there's one story, there's a track called, is it the best man to steer the boat? It's actually probably one of my favorite cues on that film. I remember it was a really long day. I had written one of the bigger action cues, and I was kind of wiped. I finished that cue, and I was going to go back in the house and get some sleep. And then I was like, I'm just going to prep the next cue, so when I wake up in the morning, it's ready to write. So I just opened up the session. I set it all up, and then I was like, let me just look at this scene for a second. Let me just sleep on it, I just watched the scene. And I literally wrote the entire thing in like 2 hours or maybe a little less. When that happens, it's gold. It doesn't happen all the time, but when yeah, those moments like that I live for. That was a good night. But yeah, that was a very special film for me. And then it sort of ignited my love of sailing after that. So and it opened up a lot of doors for me after that too. So, and I think the other thing that I love about that film and that score, I mean, it was a great canvas to write for. Just beautiful shots of boats and the ocean, and so it's composer's dream, to get those beautiful shots to write for. But I think what I liked the most about it was very timeless. This was the kind of score. I didn't think just a couple of cues had since I think one, or yeah, two, I think. But everything else was all orchestral, kind of timeless. You could probably listen to it in, 30 years, or you could have listened to it 30 years ago, and it kind of fits somewhere in the general, So that those are the kind of stuff that I really love. I mean, I love sound design. I love writing electronic music too. But I think over time, electronic music dates itself because trends and sounds and everything changes. So, but orchestra just is timeless.
Oh yeah, and I listen to the music the whole day, and wow, yeah, it's just beautiful.
Thank you so much. So the score that we recorded in June. The one I was saying we had a quick turnaround. That's basically like the sequel to that film. It's called Tides of Fate, and that one is about the 34th America's Cup. So it's, again, sailing and all that stuff, and it's pretty beautiful because it was shot in San Francisco, so you have all these great shots of the Golden Gate Bridge, and the insane boats. That one, hopefully, you guys will be able to hear soon as well. That one is a bit different. It does have some of the Wind Gods-like things in it, but yeah, but that one also has some rock elements to it, too. It's kind of fun. So hopefully you guys will be able to hear that soon.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. And yeah, of course, congrats for your well-deserved win at the IFMCA. And so, yeah.
Yeah, it was a special score for me. Yeah. Thank you.
You work on the TV movie Clan of the Cave Bear too. Were there plans to use the music of Alan Silvestri from the 80s movie?
No, it was actually a TV show pilot that never got picked up, sadly. Produced by Ron Howard, Brian Grazer. It was really promising seeing the film from the 80s too. And I didn't read the original novel, but I know about it. And it was fun, but yeah, it's not, unfortunately, it did not get picked up. I'm not really sure what the story is there, but it happens.
Yeah. And yeah, is the work for a TV movie different to the work for a documentary or a video game?
Yeah, I mean, TV shows in general, I mean, the pilots take longer, but once that's established, TV shows have a faster turnaround, and yeah, the pace is different.
And yeah, in your career, you wrote the music for several genres. Was it luck that you didn't get stuck composing music for just one specific genre, or?
There were a few periods in my life where I was mildly stuck in certain genres that I got unstuck quickly. There was a time I was scoring a lot of Sci-Fi Channel films, which I think happens to a lot of composers because they make a lot of those. I like to think that, yes, I've been pretty lucky. I've scored from comedy to action to horror to drama and all those things. And, some things I went after, a lot of things I went after myself. But then some things it is kind of luck. It's what comes to you and what's available. They reach out. But yeah, I've tried to make sure I'm not pigeonholed in one. Yeah.
Great. And do you have a, favorite genre?
That's a good question. I don't know. I do love, I'm always going to be a sucker for big Hollywood scores. So it's just, that's the kid in me that wanted to come to America. I think that's just like that's not going to go away. I love big superhero, sci-fi, action, massive scores very much. And I love writing action scores a lot. I really enjoy all that. Probably the most, but close second, if not maybe a tie, is dramas. I really love writing a good, solid drama, a film that tells a good story. My theory is that there are two types of films, or maybe there are more, but two main ones for me. There are films that make you want to escape, that help you, I should say, that help you escape your life. And then there are films that help you look at your life. And then that's why I like both. I like those big action films and big sci-fi films. It's not real. You can totally escape into this world that is fantasy. And I love that because you can do so much with that. It's kind of endless. It's very exciting to me. Not just with orchestra, but all the sound design and the hybrid, everything you can do with it is pretty amazing. But then I also love those films where after you're done watching it, you just kind of take a deep breath, and it makes you just be like, it just affects your life for a day or two or more. And yeah, those are the type of films. I mean, it's ideally a film that was made for a purpose. Not just for international distribution. They know they can sell the film, but just there's a reason why that film got made. Those are the best ones.
Oh yeah. And yeah, do you have something like a dream project? So if you could choose, what would you like to do?
Oh God, that's a really, really good one. I should have a clear answer to that, but I don't. I mean, I think maybe because it's so awesome that I haven't even dreamt it yet. I don't know. It would probably be a combination of a pretty big kind of sci-fi action thing, or I also love war films very much. I love biopics, but like a really, really solid, good one. Yeah, just to be honest, any project that's just well executed from start to finish, great script, great actors, great director, great cinematography, great editing. Just when you have that great signal flow, it doesn't even matter. It could be a $2 million film, not a $200 million film, but it could be a $2 million film, and it would be a dream film to work on just because of the experience. Because, it's a lot more than how the film does, how all that stuff. But the reason why I wanted to do this for a living is because I love films so much. And I think growing up, and there are a lot of musicians that just love to write music, which is great. That's a requirement ideally in what you're doing. But for me, I think I wanted to be in films even more than I wanted to be a musician. But music was the language I was the most proficient in that could be part of filmmaking. That was my way of helping the filmmaking process. So yeah, anytime any of those things happen and it's a good project, it's a dream, to be honest.
Yeah, do you have a favorite movie of all times?
Oh, that also changes depending on my mood. But let's see. I mean, I love Cinema Paradiso. So I think I've watched that film, I don't even know how many times. I love the score too. But then I'm also a sucker for like Back to the Future type films. I watch those. So it made me just love. It's all over the place, to be honest. Again, I love me a good drama. So, and all the DC comic stuff, Superman, I loved growing up. Yeah,
Great.
it varies.
Yeah, and my editor found something when we made the questions, and I should ask, what is the Seed featuring Pinar Toprak fight?
What is? I didn't get the titles. So
the Seed featuring Pinar Toprak fight. So it's a movie.
Oh, the song.
Ah,
the
yeah.
Song.
Ah,
The hip hop song.
yeah.
The Seed. Oh, okay. I thought it was the Seed. Okay, what was that? The Seed. Yes. The Seed is not. It's the other the artist that actually wrote the song for a film called The Challenger. It was a boxing film. Michael Clark Duncan's last film, actually, before he passed away. And it's a beautiful little boxing film. And there was a scene where it was like a montage and like a training montage kind of thing, and they needed a hip hop song, and they actually had this hip hop song, and I heard it, and I loved the lyrics and the actual rap of the song, all the vocals in it, but the music underneath it, it was okay, but I didn't think it necessarily matched the film in terms of just the music itself. So I had this idea. I told the director, I said, how about I take one of the themes from the film, and then I take their rap, all of their vocals, and then I basically write a song under the rap.
Wow.
Based on the theme. And I was like, sure, let's give it a shot. And so that's what that was. That song, this is one and only hip hop song I've ever written. But the seed is those guys, basically. That part of the song, and I did the arrangement and stuff underneath it. And we had live strings and everything. This is a cool hybrid song. I like it.
Great. And yeah, what are your next or current projects?
Oh, I'm doing something really cool now. I can't say, but it's awesome. And then the other thing is this video game called Fortnite by Epic Games. And we're recording in October, actually on my birthday. We just set the dates, October 17th and 18th. 18th is my birthday. And I can't think of a better way to spend my birthday than conducting a 70-piece orchestra. So we'll be there doing that middle of October. And then after, actually probably before that, in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to start another film. This is actually a biopic of a football player. Based on a true story, basically. And so that starts in a couple of weeks. And a few other things lined up for the rest of the year, so it's good.
Great. So yeah, about the other projects you can't talk, I'll ask you again in 6 months. yeah, you'll find before that, probably. Great. Yeah, and a little thing before the end. I'll call 5 terms. And you tell me just briefly what comes to your mind.
Okay.
Film music.
Everything.
Orchestra.
Eternity.
Hollywood.
Dirty.
Favorite meal.
Favorite meal? Good question. I have just one.
You can name.
Chocolate. That's not a meal, but I could make a meal out of it.
We have in Germany a chocolate pizza, so yeah, it's...
Exactly, see? You guys know how to live.
Yeah, and the last one, hobbies.
Sailing.